In 2025, alcohol is still the life of the party, and a silent reason about 2.6 million people won't live to see next year. It's in our toasts, our memes, our just one drink after work, and our viral TikToks featuring wine glasses the size of goldfish bowls. If you've ever wondered why a drink feels like a party trick, drop a comment now and tell us your last one that wasn't. Why do we celebrate what also quietly kills millions, draining economies, rewiring brains, and sabotaging health, while hashtagging it like a prize? That contradiction isn't new, but its costume has changed. Alcohol's ancient problem in a modern costume. Alcohol has always been both a connector and a disruptor in human relationships. It has closed business deals, sealed marriages, healed grudges, and turned strangers into instant allies. At the same time, it has fueled addiction, sent people to hospital wards, and fractured families in every part of the world. In 2025, the substance is the same, but the cultural stage around it has shifted. The carved chalice of a medieval banquet has given way to a stemless wine glass lid for the perfect Instagram shot. Ancient toasts still exist, but now they're remixed as viral clips of friends clinking craft beer cans to a trending TikTok song. Even humor about drinking, once confined to scribbles on a bar napkin, now circulates as an endless feed of wine mom memes and ironic captions. The contradictions are still there, only now they come wrapped in a carefully curated, consequence-free aesthetic. The molecule in the glass is still ethanol, produced by yeast during fermentation, capable of altering mood and reflexes within minutes. What has changed is the environment it moves through. Once, that pour might have been handed around a fire or in a local tavern, shared among a few dozen familiar faces. Today, it can be broadcast live to hundreds or thousands of people with nothing more than a front-facing camera. Same molecule, new stage. Private village tavern versus global feed. Algorithms join the ritual, pushing you endless clips of toast, laughter, and exaggerated first sip expressions. In doing so, they don't just document the social bonding, they influence it. This turns an already rewarding activity into something even more reinforced. Alcohol still delivers its chemical buzz and a sense of closeness, but now it's paired with the potential for likes, comments, and shares. Just as past communal feasts encourage people to keep refilling their cups, digital culture draws you deeper in by making the act public. Even when drinking alone, you might feel compelled to post a photo because everyone in your feed is doing the same. The cultural echo chamber grows louder, normalizing the behavior through constant visibility. Few intoxicants enjoy alcohol's level of social acceptance. Many countries have long restricted cigarette advertising, and public health messaging about illegal drugs is widespread. Alcohol, by contrast, is sold with images of sophistication, leisure, and success. Ads often skip the drink itself and instead spotlight moments supposedly made better by its presence. Friends on a beach at sunset, a glittering party brought to life by champagne. You don't see reminders that alcohol contributes to about 2.6 million deaths worldwide each year, even though that's the sober fact behind the polished imagery. The science warns of harm, the marketing sells joy. That easy acceptance cuts across entertainment, media, and everyday rituals. On-screen characters sip whiskey while strategizing. Reality TV pushes drunken slips as comedic highlights. Significant milestones, graduations, promotions, holidays default to alcohol at the center. Swap it for soda and the moment feels incomplete, like a missing prop in a well-rehearsed play. This built-in expectation is one reason alcohol remains so resilient. It's a default setting, not a special occasion guest. What hasn't changed is the way the human body handles ethanol. People thousands of years ago metabolized it much the same way we do now. The liver can process, on average, the equivalent of about one standard drink per hour, though the exact rate varies by genetics, sex, and body composition. The brain still detects its effects rapidly, and excessive intake quickly overruns the body's ability to keep up. There's no evolved immunity to it, and no biological autopilot that tells us exactly when to stop. Instead, social cues do that job. Slurred words, glassy eyes, a staggering step. Yet in many settings, these signals are downplayed or turned into signs of amusement, which blunts their purpose. In a sense, today's parties echo the gatherings of centuries past. Music, conversation, a shared intoxicant. The difference is where and how it happens. Now anyone anywhere can watch someone halfway across the globe raise a glass. A stranger's short video can inspire someone else to try the same drink minutes later. Alcohol has escaped the limits of shared physical space. Exposure to it is constant, whether you're actively drinking or just scrolling through feeds. The tempo of access has also shifted. In the past, gatherings took time to arrange and wind down, creating pauses between opportunities to drink. Today, a delivery app, a stock fridge of canned cocktails, or a quick video called Toast with Friends can shrink that gap to minutes. The decision to drink now can be almost instantaneous, just a message reply or a fridge door away. Human tolerance hasn't adjusted to match this acceleration. This is where the heart of alcohol's modern costume becomes clear. The same fragile physiology faced with an environment that amplifies both opportunity and approval. The molecule that once fueled bonds in small circles now powers a sprawling, interconnected performance. Where a friend might once have urged you to slow down, the feedback now often comes as virtual applause from people you've never met, reinforcing how much fun you look like you're having. That's why, despite the 4K visuals, the trending soundtrack, and the slick branding, the core hazards haven't changed. Your liver works at the same pace it did in ancient times. Your brain still follows a familiar pattern of mood lift, loosening of inhibition, and impaired control as drinks accumulate. The change is not in the ethanol. It's in the scale, speed, and reach of the culture built around it. And understanding that context sets the stage for what really happens inside you when the first mouthful hits. The chemistry of a sip in 2025. The first contact between alcohol and your body starts almost instantly. As soon as it hits your tongue, taste receptors send early signals to your brain. Swallow and the ethanol moves quickly into the stomach before passing into the small intestine, where most of it is absorbed at a rapid pace. From there, your bloodstream carries it throughout the body. The liver becomes the next major stop. Its enzymes, particularly alcohol dehydrogenase, begin converting ethanol into acetaldehyde, a toxic substance, before breaking that down into less harmful molecules for excretion. The problem is capacity. The liver can only metabolize roughly 1 standard drink per hour, no matter what form the alcohol takes. Anything beyond that builds up in the blood, awaiting its turn in line. As blood alcohol concentration rises, ethanol spreads widely and crosses the blood-brain barrier with ease. Being both water and fat soluble, it moves into brain tissue quickly, affecting chemical messengers that regulate how you think, feel, and act. Despite all the changes in how alcohol is packaged or flavored in 2025, the interaction between the molecule and your neurons unfolds exactly as it did for drinkers centuries ago. Once there, ethanol begins its neurological work on 3 main fronts. It enhances GABA, which quiets neural activity, bringing on sedation and slower reactions. It suppresses glutamate, dulling cognition and making it harder to think sharply or form new memories. And it boosts dopamine and endorphins, creating a mild euphoria and increasing the pleasure of social contact. In younger people, these changes can be even riskier. Research shows the brain is still developing into the mid-20s, so early drinking can disrupt wiring that shapes decision-making and impulse control. The combined effect is a shift in mood and perception that arrives quickly. Even one drink can loosen tension, lower inhibitions, and make company feel warmer. The amygdala's reduced activity lowers social anxiety, making you more likely to approach strangers or participate in group conversations. Evolutionarily, humans are tuned to respond to such states because they foster bonding and cooperation, which helped our ancestors survive in tight-knit groups. Alcohol activates these pathways efficiently, creating a temporary state in which trust feels easy and connection effortless. None of this changes with modern branding. Whether it's served in an ornate glass at a bar or from a sleek resealable can on your couch, the ethanol takes the same route. Today's convenience culture means that strong drinks can be consumed anywhere without the subtle speed bumps of older rituals. No waiting for table service, no watching the measure pour. Without those pauses, pacing is easier to lose. A can that can be sipped, set down, and reopened encourages prolonged and less intentional drinking, but the liver's processing speed doesn't alter to match. The excess stays in circulation longer, amplifying its effects on the brain. The exact way ethanol affects each person varies with genetics, body size, and even gut microbiome makeup, but the overall curve is consistent. There's an initial lift in mood and sociability, followed by progressive impairment in coordination, memory, and judgment. These phases can overlap. You might feel energized and engaged at the same time that your ability to evaluate risk or recall details is already slipping. That disconnection between how you feel and what's actually happening makes it easy to keep going past safe limits. Social settings reinforce the chemistry. Watching others raise their glasses can trigger subconscious imitation through mirror neuron activity. Add in the feel-good chemicals already circulating, and a group can quickly sync up in drinking patterns. This collective momentum often feels natural in the moment, but it also accelerates the rise in blood alcohol for everyone involved. As shared inhibition fades, the group dynamic itself can become part of the encouragement to keep drinking. Your senses shift to match the internal changes. Sounds can feel richer, colors warmer, and spaces more inviting. These sensory effects blend with the neurochemical ones to create a potent impression. A room feels friendlier, laughter easier, and interactions more rewarding. It's tempting to read this as purely emotional connection, but underneath it is a predictable biochemical chain reaction. Part of the appeal comes from the temporary quieting of self-censorship. People often describe themselves as more authentic after a drink, as if the alcohol reveals something truer. In reality, it's the dampening of brain regions involved in restraint and self-monitoring. This can make interactions flow more freely, but it's also why judgment slips, and why moments that feel lighter at the time can turn awkward or risky later. From a sensory and social standpoint, that first drink functions as a shortcut. The flavor profile may be elaborate, the presentation stylish, but once swallowed, ethanol runs the same play it always has, hitting hardwired systems that evolved to handle trust, cooperation, and shared experience. In minutes, it can tilt a room toward openness, shift strangers toward friendliness, and convince you the moment is worth stretching out. It's a feedback loop humans have been susceptible to for millennia, now supercharged by an environment that makes starting and continuing easier than ever. By the time that warmth has settled in, most people aren't thinking about enzymes or neurotransmitters. They're reacting to the lift, the sense of easier connection, and the impression that the mood can be sustained or deepened with just a little more. In a world where convenience and constant connectivity often replace slower, more deliberate forms of gathering, that pull can be hard to resist. Why we keep coming back for round two. So why is it that after your first drink, a second one often feels less like a decision and more like the natural next step? The roots of that pull lie deep in your brain's reward system, circuits designed by evolution to reinforce anything that boosts survival, from sharing food to forming social bonds. Alcohol slips seamlessly into these pathways, delivering a small burst of dopamine with each sip. That chemical hit tags the moment as worth repeating, and in a social setting, the effect is amplified. Conversation feels more engaging, people seem warmer, and the whole environment takes on a more appealing hue. The changes don't stop at pleasure signals. Alcohol dampens activity in the amygdala, one of the brain's fear and anxiety filters. Even at modest doses, it can quiet thoughts like, what if I embarrass myself? Or what will they think? The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism notes that light alcohol use can temporarily enhance social bonding, making people feel more connected in the moment. That combination, the pleasant lift plus reduced social barriers, can make you associate that mental state with a better or more genuine version of yourself. The trick is that this isn't an earned confidence born of experience. It's a chemical shortcut that wears off as soon as your blood alcohol drops. Layered over the chemistry is the mirror of social reinforcement. Drinking rarely happens in isolation, and the feedback you get from the people around you, laughter, attention, shared gestures, echoes the internal dopamine reward. Those two sources of validation strengthen each other. The brain stores the memory not just as a pleasant experience, but as an important one. When you recall a night out, it's the relaxed ease, the shared jokes, and the energy of the moment that stand out, even if the rest of the evening was ordinary. That glow in hindsight smooths over any awkward patches, making you more likely to repeat the pattern. In most group settings, this loop becomes self-sustaining. A second drink keeps you in step with others, and stepping away can feel like breaking the flow. Alcohol's effects, though measurable in chemistry, often present as a subtle social current. You simply find yourself matching the round count of those around you. You might not weigh the pros and cons of another drink, you just raise your glass when everyone else does. The reinforcement here is immediate and requires no conscious calculation. Today's social environment adds another layer of motivation, an audience that extends beyond the physical room. Between drinks, glasses are raised not just for a toast, but for a photo or video. In seconds, the moment is online, drawing real-time responses from people who aren't even there. Each like or comment arrives as a fresh micro-reward, working on the same neural pathways the alcohol is already priming. The result is a stacked effect. Internal chemical pleasure overlaid with external social validation, both telling you, this feels good, keep going. This is part of why drinking culture dovetails so neatly with performance culture. Alcohol is visually recognizable, socially accepted in most settings, and easy to present as emblematic of fun or connection. Participating means you fit into a shared narrative, and documenting it turns the experience into a social asset. That visibility can create its own gentle pressure to match the image, nudging you toward having one more so the moment and the post still looks full life. Over time, the pattern builds a mental library of good nights, many of which share the same structure. A first drink that warms the edges, a second that deepens the connection, and memories that highlight the best parts while minimizing any downsides. Your brain files these nights under worth repeating, without separating the role of the alcohol from the rest of the interaction. The next time you're invited out, you're primed to expect the same payoff, even if the circumstances or company are different. What's striking is how automatic this process can be. Moving from one drink to two rarely feels like a fresh decision. It's more often a continuation of a set of cues and rewards already in motion. The trigger might be an empty glass, the arrival of a new round, or someone raising theirs for a toast. Each signal feeds back into the loop, making the progression feel natural rather than additive. This self-reinforcing cycle doesn't require excess to function. It operates just as well in quieter settings. A single drink after work that lightens the mood can invite a second for the sake of prolonging that shift. Scenes like this don't carry the obvious markers of overindulgence, which is one reason they're easy to repeat without concern. Yet the dynamic, the chemistry, the reinforcement, the stored memory is nearly identical to the one that pushes a group from first round to third. In this way, alcohol's draw isn't just about what's happening in your bloodstream. It's about a convergence of biology and environment designed to keep you engaged. The brain's ancient wiring for social closeness rewards the same cues that modern culture amplifies through visibility and feedback. One drink tips the first domino, and the rest fall without much resistance. But here's the part neuroscientists didn't expect. The daily dose that isn't so harmless. That quiet, everyday drink, a glass of wine with dinner, a beer while streaming your favorite show, often feels too small to matter. It's framed as harmless, a way to take the edge off without crossing into excess. But your body doesn't grade on that curve. Even modest regular intake sets off changes that don't fully reset overnight. The ethanol still travels the same route, absorbed into the bloodstream, sent to the liver for processing, and distributed through nearly every organ. You might feel fine by morning, but the underlying effects can accumulate quietly over years. Research now makes it clear that low-level drinking isn't a free pass. The physiological load may be subtle at first, but three patterns stand out. First, inflammation and cardiovascular strain. Every time the liver breaks down alcohol, it produces compounds that irritate tissues. In small amounts, the immune system can handle that stress, but frequent repetition leaves a background level of inflammation that never completely subsides. Blood vessels become less flexible. Blood pressure can creep up, and triglyceride levels can rise, nudging cardiovascular risk upward long before any symptoms are obvious. Second, toxic byproducts and their link to cancer. The chemical middleman in alcohol's breakdown, acetaldehyde, is toxic to cells. Over time, repeated exposure increases the odds of DNA damage and cellular mutations. That's why major health agencies classify alcohol as a carcinogen, and why regular drinking is linked to cancers of the mouth, throat, digestive tract, and liver. Even small amounts carry measurable risk. Studies now show that breast cancer risk rises at just one drink a day. You can't see these changes happening, but each glass contributes to the long-term hazard. Third, brain and sleep disruption. Alcohol interacts with brain chemistry even at levels far below obvious intoxication. Many people use a nightcap to relax into sleep, but alcohol shortens deep, restorative stages and fragments the second half of the sleep cycle. The result can be a muted form of restlessness, waking up not fully refreshed without realizing why. Over months or years, this low-grade disturbance can chip away at mood stability, memory, and resilience to stress. Guidelines in 2025 reflect these realities. Several national health bodies have shifted their low-risk definitions downward, in some cases recommending no more than a few drinks per week. The change comes from a cumulative picture. Even modest daily habits produce measurable increases in disease risk. That risk isn't limited to major events decades away. It seeds small, ongoing strains across systems that keep you healthy day to day. Part of why these dangers hide in plain sight is that the early signs are easy to misattribute. A hint of digestive upset, a run of restless nights, slightly elevated blood pressure. None feel urgent, and all have plausible alternative explanations. Because moderate drinking is so normalized, its role in these patterns often goes unexamined until a doctor flags a specific marker, like elevated liver enzymes. By then, the habit can feel ingrained and harmless, making change less likely. Social comparison feeds the illusion of safety. It's tempting to measure your own intake against that of heavier drinkers in your circle, the friend downing half a bottle of whiskey nightly, the colleague who's always visibly tipsy at gatherings. Against that backdrop, one drink a day seems like the sensible middle ground. But the body's chemistry doesn't sort risk by how you look compared to others. It responds to total exposure over time. Culturally, moderation is marketed as balance, an adult pleasure, a healthy compromise. What's often left out is that moderate patterns, when consistent, still elevate the risk for multiple chronic conditions. The repetition matters as much as the volume. It's the frequency that keeps acetaldehyde regularly in circulation, maintains low-grade inflammation, and normalizes subtle sleep disruption. Those processes unfold whether or not you ever feel drunk. Because alcohol dissolves in both water and fat, it reaches virtually every tissue, heart muscle, pancreas, brain, without much resistance. The body works to repair the small injuries it causes, but when the cycle repeats before repairs are complete, the net effect tilts toward accumulation. That's why physiologically, there's a marked difference between an occasional drink at a celebration and a nightly habit, even if neither leads to intoxication. From a practical standpoint, the stealth of the harm is part of the problem. You can go years without linking everyday fatigue or periodic stomach trouble to regular drinking. The confirmation may only come after measurable changes, blood work showing altered liver function, or a scan revealing early tissue damage. While reducing or stopping intake can allow some recovery, research shows the extent of reversal depends on how long and how heavily you've been drinking. The earlier the adjustment, the more the body can regain, but there's no guarantee of a full reset. In 2025, the message from health researchers has grown blunt. The safe zone is narrower than it has been presented in the past, and frequency counts as much as binge episodes in shaping long-term outcomes. The small, steady dose framed as routine comfort isn't neutral. It keeps biological systems in a state of low-level adaptation to a toxin. Over time, that adaptation becomes the baseline, and the quiet consequences keep stacking up. These effects aren't just about liver metrics or risk charts. They extend to how your brain functions day to day, how refreshed you feel, and how resilient your mood is under stress. And while these shifts are subtle in the beginning, they have a way of leaving their mark in places you might not expect. In fact, scientists now have the tools to see some of those changes taking shape in real time with surprising detail. Your brain versus the bottle. When it comes to alcohol's long game, the brain is one of its most consistent targets. In 2025, brain imaging has advanced to the point where researchers can measure not just gross damage, but subtle shifts in structure and function over time. Scans now reveal that some regions begin to lose volume years earlier than people might expect. The prefrontal cortex, critical for decision-making and self-control, the hippocampus, key for forming memories, and the white matter connections linking brain regions all show wear with sustained heavy drinking, and in some cases, even with long-term moderate use. Studies now link heavy drinking to earlier cognitive decline and higher dementia risk, making these changes more than just abstract scan results. Imaging also suggests that while some recovery is possible with abstinence, early reduction secures the greatest improvements. In practice, the effects track with everyday lapses. You might walk into a room and forget why, lose words you've used 100 times, or take a beat longer to process a comment. On paper, these moments might seem harmless, but in imaging studies, they align with areas showing shrinkage or reduced connectivity. Alcohol's impact isn't limited to the hours you feel its buzz. It imprints on the brain in ways that persist. The prefrontal cortex is often one of the first to show measurable change. It governs planning, impulse control, and judgment, and gradual thinning here can quietly shift behavior. A person might become quicker to react, less patient, or prone to choosing short-term rewards over longer-term benefits. These shifts don't happen after a single drink. They're the accumulated result of years when alcohol's regular presence slowly tuning circuits toward less efficient processing. The hippocampus is equally vulnerable. This small seahorse-shaped structure in the temporal lobe is central to encoding new experiences into memory. Long-term drinkers often show smaller hippocampal volumes than their non-drinking peers, meaning fewer nerve cells and supporting networks to capture and store detail. In everyday life, that could mean remembering the headline moments of a night, but not the specifics of conversations, or dropping a set of instructions you heard just minutes earlier. It's easy to excuse such slips, but over time they can leave a noticeable mark on how much detail you can reliably hold. Then there's the brain's white matter, the insulated wiring that allows one region to communicate quickly with another. Alcohol can damage the fatty myelin sheath that protects these connections. As insulation thins, signals slow, so your brain may still find the right answer but take longer to deliver it. In a meeting or a casual conversation, that might show as hesitation before finding a word or a slightly delayed response to something unexpected. While those pauses can be blamed on stress or fatigue, imaging often shows a physical wear and tear in these pathways. Functional scans also tell part of the story. In long-term drinkers, brain regions that normally activate strongly during problem-solving or memory tasks often show weaker responses. At the same time, areas tied to ingrained habits show increased activity. That shift suggests a brain leaning more on automatic behavior and less on adaptable thinking. Over years, it can subtly influence personality, a tilt toward routine, less curiosity to experiment with new approaches, a narrowing of mental flexibility. Memory lapses get the most attention, but long-term alcohol exposure also nudges emotional regulation off balance. The amygdala, a key emotional processing hub, can change in both size and reactivity. This means that while a drink might blunt anxiety in the moment, the cumulative effect can heighten mood swings or intensify responses to stress. Irritability may come quicker, calm may take longer to return, and small setbacks can feel disproportionately disruptive.